Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm very pleased to welcome all of you to today's webinar. And today we will talk about countering climate disinformation and strengthening global citizenship education and media literacy in learning cities. My name is Edith Hammer, and I'm a program specialist at UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning here in Hamburg in Germany. So today we have the 8th and also the penultimate edition of our monthly webinar series that we've been running in advance of our upcoming International Conference on Learning Cities, which will be held from the 3rd to the 5th of December this year in Jubail Industrial City in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And today we will delve into the topic of global citizenship education and how it can be used as a powerful tool for fostering climate action. We'll examine how promoting critical thinking and information literacy can help citizens to evaluate media content and to do so effectively and with a critical perspective. And especially, we will look at that topic in the face of climate-related mis- and disinformation. So our discussion will cover several topics and questions, such as how media and information literacy can actually be integrated into the strategic operations of cities, and how these transversal skills can be promoted among or within local communities. And so we're very eager to hear how citizenship education and media literacy are also promoted in practice. How does that look like in non-formal and informal learning contexts, in particular in UNESCO learning cities? So we'll have 3 presentations today. The first one will be given by our UNESCO colleague who will share a presentation on media and information literacy cities and climate change to set the floor for the practical examples to follow. And these will be from the learning city of Aswan in Egypt and the learning city of Chisinau in the Republic of Moldova. And after the presentations, we'll also have a chance for questions and answers and discussion. So before we start, please let me give you some technical details. This Zoom event will be recorded and it will also be shared on the UL website together with other webinars that we've had already. Please kindly use the chat box for comments that you may have and use the Q&A box for any questions you would like to ask the panelists. We will do our best to respond to your questions throughout the webinar, and we suggest that you start including your questions already while the presentations are ongoing, as sometimes in the end we don't have enough time to follow up on all questions coming in the very last moment. We also have interpretation available in Arabic, English, French, Spanish, Korean, and Chinese. At the bottom of your screen, you can click on the interpretation button, which looks like a globe, and please select the language you would like to listen to. And I would already like to announce that the presentation from Aswan will be given in Arabic language, so I will let you know then to change the language channel as needed. Also, I would like to thank our partners who make the interpretation services available. With their support for Arabic, interpretation is provided by the Regional Center of Quality and Excellence in Education, the RCQE, under the auspices of UNESCO, located in Jubail. Korean interpretation is kindly provided by the learning city of Goyang in the Republic of Korea, and Chinese interpretation is provided by the Shanghai Municipal Institute for Lifelong Education, SMILE, in the People's Republic of China. So a big thank you to our partners for making the webinar more accessible through their support. So now, without further delay, I'm very pleased to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Adeline Hulin. She's the chief of the Unit on Media and Information Literacy and Digital Competences in the UNESCO Communication and Information sector. And she will provide us with a presentation on media and information literacy cities and climate change. So Adeline, you have 10 to 12 minutes, and now the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this introduction and for this invitation. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you today, especially that the topic of cities and the work on climate change is very much at the heart of the work we do at the moment in the Media Information Literacy Unit. In fact, we are about to launch two major things that I will now present in my presentation. The Global Media Information Literacy Week is around the corner. It's going to start on the 24th of October. So we are right now in the final stages of preparation. And during that this big week of celebration of events, we will have the launch of the concept of media information literacy cities. I just wanted to start maybe quickly reminding for those that are online, in case they're not necessarily acquainted, or just to remind about what we're talking about when we speak about media information literacy. So when we speak about media information literacy, we speak about a set of competencies that encompass skills, behaviors, and attitudes that we consider being now the one that we absolutely need in the digital age to navigate the information ecosystem. And as you know, the information ecosystem right now is very much relying on new technologies. People are massively, in majority, informing themselves on social media or through internet platforms, and increasingly also using generative AI. And so when we speak about media information literacy, we say it goes beyond understanding and how to use these technologies. It also goes about the critical thinking that you need to understand the impact of these technologies on democracy, on the information ecosystem, about how the information is distributed, how you access information, how you receive information, how you search for information. So this is really becoming a flagship priority for the organization. And that's also why the unit for media information literacy is rather new. It's just been created recently, around a year ago, upon request of UNESCO's member state to respond to the growing challenges of disinformation, hate speech, and harmful content online, but also to the growing challenge of artificial intelligence. So within the unit, we work quite a lot on including and having media information literacy included in formal education. You mentioned this, Edith, at the beginning, but also in informal education. When it comes to formal education here, we have a lot of programs. We have a model media information literacy curricula, and we work with member states to integrate media information literacy in the policies in order that this work can go into the formal education system. A good news, and just to flag also right at the beginning, is that during the Summit for the Future that happened now in New York in September, in the Global Digital Compact, there is right now a commitment of member states to enroll media information literacy by 2030 in the school curricula. But we know that we are very far at the moment from the situation of having media information literacy. Unfortunately, a lot of work is being required in order to achieve that objective. And while we're working on that, we also work on promoting media information literacy through informal education. And this means we're working with a variety of stakeholders at various levels, being, for instance, we have a long history of working with youth organizations, but also working with some other actors, libraries, etc. Now, what we have been developing, and I will go and ask to go to the next slide, is that we have been working on the ideas of on developing the concept of media information literacy cities. And it's because obviously, and you know that better than I do, I'm quite sure, is that the growing majority of the population who live in urban areas. And in fact, a lot of the stakeholders we are already working on media information literacy are actors that are already very active at city level. So we have there is a natural trend for us to work more with cities on the promotion of informal learning and to integrate media information literacy in urban spaces. And I'm going to come to that. But basically, the idea is to go beyond just working with schools, with universities or libraries, but also to involve other stakeholders such as the transport system, the different actors of the cities, and I will describe them later on, in order to promote new innovative way of learning on media information literacy. Can we go to the next slide, please? So for us, the key for the success here is that we need the multi-stakeholder involvement and to encourage the collaboration among municipal policymakers, the civil society, the private actors, and the public sector. We need an inclusive participation. meaning that this approach promotes lifelong learning and reaches marginalized or at-risk groups to achieve informal learning of everyone, everywhere, including marginalized groups, and contributing to media information literacy for all. And the last point is that we want to encourage the synergies with UNESCO cities platforms. So to encourage, to allow the cities to share experiences, practices, best practices, and challenges, and foster an integrated approach to address some complex issues that the cities face today. So this includes cultural heritage preservation, sustainable development, lifelong learning, digital transformation, innovation in design and creativity. And therefore, we believe that the cities piloting this Mill Cities concept, and we are about to release some specific guidelines, they can synergize with the other UNESCO cities network and enrich the approach that we are going to promote on that. Next one. So on the next slide, you will see these are the different potential Mill Cities actors that we would be targeting and hoping to develop an action plan with each of them in order to have a comprehensive action in the promotion of media information literacy. So it includes working, I mentioned earlier, we know that the transportation system can be like very powerful places for informal learning, but the COVID crisis has also taught us that working with the health system, for instance, to counter COVID-19 disinformation, these are also places where you can also work with the actors of the health system to have some campaigns targeting disinformation in relation to health. You can work with the entertainment industry, for instance, the cinemas, to promote different kind of the screening of some movies, working with the commercial centers, and each and every actors can have a role to play when it comes to promoting media information literacy learning in relation, for instance, to elections, in relation to the different, anything that would be important for the citizens within a city. So next one, during the Global Media Information Literacy Week, I want to invite you all to participate. The conference is going to be broadcasted online. The conference is taking place on the 30th and the 31st of October. And we have one plenary session that is going to launch the new operational guideline to construct UNESCO media information literacy cities. During that session, we have invited some mayors. We also have the head of UN Habitat in Jordan. We also have a couple of experts working on the concept of Mill Cities for now a couple of years. And so we will release and launch these guidelines that are really providing very specific and concrete examples about how to pilot the concept of Mill Cities and start for us this learning period, which we hope to have in the next 1 or 2 years to understand what are the challenges and what are the areas that are very successful when it comes to cities piloting this concept. Next one. Now I'm kind of switching the topic because this webinar is about media information literacy and in relation to the cities, but also in relation to climate change. And here I'm switching a little bit because I want to speak about climate change. So one area where the unit has been very active is about how to address the issue of climate change disinformation. This has been for the UNESCO communication and information sector a year where we have been very much focusing our efforts about climate change and information integrity. So the World Press Freedom Day that was organized in Chile in May of this year was about freedom of expression and generally how the media community contributes to providing accurate information in relation to climate change and the environmental crisis. And following that conference, there has been the adoption of a roadmap on information integrity in relation to climate change. And one of the main, there are different areas where UNESCO needs to work on, but one area is empowering people with media information literacy skills to debunk climate change disinformation. So I want to say also a few words about the fact that we are in parallel working with some actors that are the content creators and influencers in order to address this. Because right now, one of the major trends for people to access information, I mentioned at the beginning, is the fact that people access information in majority through social media. But on social media, people rely increasingly on content creators and influencers. So right now, the statistics are that for the 12-15, the main source of information is TikTok. For those that are below 30 that go to TikTok, 46% of them, they inform themselves on political issues on TikTok. So this is creating a lot of changes because there is right now probably a lack of media information literacy skills of people that are informing themselves on these platforms to actually understand what is the specificity of journalism and how to distinguish who is a journalist and what is the difference with the content creators. People tend probably to forget that journalists are committed to professional and ethical standards, that, for instance, they do fact-checking, that there is a separation between facts and opinions, that the media are basically required to follow a set of professional standards. And the fact that these content creators are becoming the new gatekeepers of public interest information, notably on climate and environmental issue, is a trend that we need to follow because those content creators and influencers are not yet abiding to the same standards, and they do not have to because they are not necessarily journalists. So this was also something that we have been working on in parallel, because during the Global Media Information Literacy Week, one of the main other outcome of the conference is going to be the launch of a global massive online course for content creators and influencers to empower them with media information literacy skills. And this is something that we are going to launch at the end of the month with a global campaign that will be under the hashtag #PostWithCare. And on the 18th of November, we will have this global course where we are targeting at least 5,000 content creators across the world. And we really hope to have a big outreach because we know that there is a need. We have done a survey with more than 500 content creators from 50 countries across the world. These results will be published during as well, like in November, for the launch of the course. And in that course, in that survey, what we have seen is that a majority of the content creators and influencers that provide public interest information, they do not do fact-checking. And for them, the main way of analyzing if an information is credible or not is often just the number of likes. So these are things that really show the need to empower people with media information literacy skills in order to really orientate and to really navigate safely and understand where to find reliable information online. Next slide, please. I'm almost finished. So just to say a few words. So in addition to this course for content creators and influencers, we released in November a very short, so it's not a massive online course this time, it's just a module that will last around 1 or 2 hours in order to empower people who take this class, interactive multimedia course. It will be just to empower them with media information literacy skills, really just on climate change and to really address the issue of climate change disinformation. Next slide. The course has been developed here with these people that you can see on the screen. We've been also trying to work with some activists, some content creators, but also fact checkers and researchers. And it will have 4 main modules, and then you will have some tests and some calls for actions. The course is going to be available in English and Arabic at the moment. And as said, it's going to be a free course. And it really responds to a demand because we've been, since the World Press Freedom Day and the adoption of this roadmap, we've been really requested to provide such resources as soon as possible. Next one. And just to say a few words about the fact that we will launch this module alongside the COP29, so not during the COP, but it will be launched in Brisbane. There is a specific conference that will touch upon disinformation in the Pacific. And that's an area, I mean, that's geographically a place that is for us very interesting because there is a lot of issues in relation to climate change, but also a lot of discussion around climate change disinformation in the Pacific. And for during that session, we will have both a panel discussion and also a workshop to test this model with the participants. So that's more or less what is in the pipelines. So a lot of new resources to come by until end of November, and that's why we're so busy right now to finish everything. But we really again, words of appreciation for this invitation to speak and for us to give an opportunity to present these resources that are coming soon. Also hoping that we'll get maybe some of the participants here online to help us spread the word and get more, interested participants to take the course, both the one on climate change, but also to disseminate our guidelines for the concept of mixed cities. So really, big thanks for this invitation to speak today.
Thank you so much, Adeline, for your presentation. I think this was really packed with valuable information, and it is great to hear what your team has been doing to advance on media and information literacy, and also link to climate action and the roadmap that you've created, the learning module that you've created. And also thanks for pointing particularly also to those non-formal and informal learning environments that we consider so important within the context of learning cities. I've
Edith,
seen
just one thing, Edith, I have a question. Is it possible after, because right now we don't have all the links yet available for all these materials that are coming up soon, but is there a possibility to circulate them to the participants afterwards?
Definitely. Okay. Yes, we can include them in our thank you messages afterwards. Yes, we will do so. Thank you.
Great.
I would now like to move over to the second presentation, and I would like to invite Ms. Daniela Munka-Avdenev. She's representing the learning city of Chisinau in the Republic of Moldova. And she will present what the city has been doing in this field of promoting citizenship education, but also more broadly learning for sustainable development in especially also informal and non-formal contexts for a variety of target groups. Daniela, you have around 8 minutes. We are quite advanced in the time. So please, the floor is yours to start your presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Edith. So I represent Chisinau, which is the capital city of Republic of Moldova, and I'm ready for the slides. I can share the screen. Give me a second. All right. Okay. And I put together a few interesting ideas, and I hope that our colleagues from other UNESCO cities will find them useful. All right, let me see if we can have the entire screen. All right, so Chisinau has a population of around 700,000 people, and we are very popular in terms of green cities because despite the fact that the city is growing, we have a lot of new buildings, a lot of people come from different regions of our country to the capital city. We maintain a decent amount, as we say, of green areas. In the last 3-4 years, we have renewed over 20 public parks and gardens, and we rely on the community engagement so that Chisinau remains a green city. And most importantly, our city is part of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development's Green City Initiative. There are only 50 cities around the globe that are part of this initiative, which focuses on sustainable urban development, infrastructure, modernization, and reducing carbon emission. So I just wanted to show you, this is just one picture from one of the places that you can visit in Chisinau. And we believe this is one of the biggest, for example, open air theaters, which are in the public spaces. So this one fits around 6,000, 7,000 people. And we have a lot of events happening around the park. So in Chisinau, parks are not just for walking, but these are places where there are things happening. And this is the project that I mentioned, the Green City Initiative. And you can see that Chisinau is one of those 50 cities that are part of this global initiative. And because we are part of this big Green Cities family, we are working right now on a plan, on municipal plan, to make sure that this plan impacts all the areas of the municipality. And so we are developing a strategy at the municipal level, which includes not just modernizing spaces and planting trees and reducing carbon dioxide, but we also focus on educating masses, and we mainly focus on 3 ingredients. We talk about formal and informal educational activities, community engagement, and partnerships with international and local organizations. So because we're still very big on formal education, we try to combine formal and informal educational activities. We rely heavily on community engagement because our people really like to be involved. They really like to participate in municipal events. And at the same time, of course, we try to reach out to as many international organizations that specialize in green, green education and developing green skills, as we call them. And our purpose is to create a comprehensive framework for combating climate disinformation, promoting media literacy, and of course, strengthening the global citizenship education. Let me give you a few specific examples of what we have been doing in the past 2-3 years, and I hope that you will get inspired from them. So if we start with formal education, we rely on mini grants for municipal schools. So in Chisinau, we have over 322 educational institutions. So we don't just tell them you have to develop green skills. We say, we will offer you mini grants for your school to involve students in some kind of after school or extra school civic engagement project. So for example, in the past 2 years, we worked with the German Agency for International Cooperation, which is a governmental agency. And we had a big project. It's called the School of the Green City. And we offered money for schools to do, small scale projects. But most importantly, we also developed our schools' grant writing skills. So school principals and regular teachers understand how projects work and how they can apply for projects, whether for local funding, municipal, governmental, or international funding. So this was a really nice project. And we financed in the last 2 years, 50 out of 320 schools, which is a big project. Another, if we talk about informal education, another project that is happening all year round is done by the Municipal Libraries Network. So in Chisinau, we have 27 libraries. And for example, in the summer, summer long, June, July, August, we had the STEM at the Library Summer program. And we engaged over 2,372 children aged 6 to 12. Also, we had a lot of kids, Ukrainian refugees. So at the library, we had these STEM activities that, of course, promoted green skills and protecting the environment and fighting with media disinformation related to the problems related to media. So we organize this project every year, and we have a big number of kids who come to the libraries and learn to be more responsible citizens. Another thing that we do at the municipal level, we have 13 after-school centers, and one of our centers is specialized in green education, and they work all year round, and usually kids come to this center after school, and it happens every day, after school, not just when it's vacation time or summer time. And they do a lot of workshops, activities, projects related to, for example, eco-design, or the pharmacy of nature, farming, flower science. So a lot of activities that help children go to parks or go to greenhouses or to the botanical garden and experience being in, working surrounded by nature. And there is a lot of creativity involved. So this particular center focuses on green education alone, and it's a great example of after-school program, and it's entirely covered by the municipality. So all the activities are free of charge for all the children that attend the classes organized by this center. It's called the Center of the Young Naturalists, just to translate it. By the way, we also do lobbying, and we ask our students to do research, for example, to compare the lab results, chemistry results of soil samples from different regions in Chisinau and see if they are suitable for planting, for example, vegetables. Can we eat the vegetables that are planted in Chisinau? Is the soil good enough? Is it ecological? And then you can see on the slide that we regularly take our kids to the parliament of the Republic of Moldova, and they meet parliamentarians and they lobby for, a cleaner environment or policies that should be implemented so the kids have a better future. And here on the slide, you can see this is the chair of the Moldovan parliament, and you can see an art exhibit done by our students. So it's not just after school, but we try to teach students how to do lobbying and how to interact with public authorities, local public authorities or central public authorities. Speaking of informal education, a lot of municipal structures are trained to do adult learning and lifelong learning activities. For example, we have the Chisinau Municipality Waste Management Company, which is a technical company, and they do, they handle waste, and they have these big cars that, collect the trash around the city. So in addition to their regular responsibilities, we ask them to monthly organize events for the community, for kids, for their parents, for families, and they do summer programs and they go to kindergartens. So they go to schools and they teach children about waste management, recycling, and all those aspects are important. And we start from kindergarten as early as possible. Another aspect that we focus on is, of course, partnership with local, national, and international NGOs. For example, together with Green Nations, which is an NGO that focuses on clean agriculture, we organized contests for schools and young children, for example, how to save the bees. And we tell them that the bees are in danger and what happens if we don't take care of them. So we do a lot of information sessions for our school students. And we encourage them to save the bees and save the planet. So we teach them about all these things that are important. This particular project was implemented together with the UNESCO office in Republic of Moldova. So of course, we reach out to UNESCO office whenever we want international collaborations and partnerships that can, help us share best practices on the international level. Of course, we also rely on community engagement, and Chisinau municipality has been doing a lot of community work, and we have been planting thousands and thousands of trees, and we have a lot of initiatives. And on the screen, you can see just a few screenshots from a few newspapers. So, for example, here in 2022, we planted 60,000 trees, and then in 2021, 100,000 trees. So we do all these big community events where regular people just come to specific places around the city. Municipality buys and brings the trees, and we can plant the trees together. So we have noticed that our citizens really like this events, and there is usually a high number of participants. We don't have to look for volunteers because they're always there. So community engagement is another aspect that helps us promote, as we say, these green competencies and teach citizenship and how we can protect our environment. So just as a conclusion, the way we implement this green strategy at the municipal level, we combine formal and informal educational activities. Sometimes municipal organizations go to schools, and sometimes schools go to municipal organizations, and we encourage all the municipal organizations to approach this subject, whether they are or not specialized in ecology or clean environment. Community engagement is a tool that is, we have found it to be very popular in Chisinau, and we notice that our citizens love to be involved in these activities. And as I said, there is no need to look for volunteers because there is usually a very big turnout when we have this nice event. And of course, last but not least, partnerships with international local organizations help us bring in positive experiences and share from our experience with other cities and other organizations that share the same goals. Thank you, Edith.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for that practical insight into the green city of Chisinau. I think it was great to hear the kind of broad collaborations and partnerships you have built, the diverse learning environments in which you are promoting education for sustainable development. I think it will be interesting in the discussion that we have, maybe also how these diverse initiatives of community engagement and tree planting and the school outreach programs, how they may have also contributed to instill this kind of critical critical thinking and citizenship competencies, leading also to further enhancing media literacy and so forth. But thank you so much for these insights, and we will now move to the second city presentation, and I'm very pleased to invite Ms. Mervat El Saman. She is from the learning city of Aswan in Egypt, and we are also very much looking forward to her presentation, also on how the city of Aswan has been working to support climate action within their city environment. And this presentation, please let me know, it will take place or will be held in Arabic. So if you would like to continue to listen to the presentation in English, then please move to the English channel, and in the original language channel, you can listen to it in Arabic. So please, Ms. El Saman, the floor is yours. You have 8 to maximum 10 minutes, and I would kindly ask you to stick to the time so we have some time left for questions. Please take the floor. Let's see, I can see that you're here. I hope that you will be able to join and to start your presentation. Okay, there seems to be a technical difficulty. I hope, Ms. El Saman, if you can hear us, please just unmute yourself whenever you're ready. And then we can have your presentation. In the meantime, I would like to suggest that we can have some questions, and we can then fit in the third presentation afterwards. I can see some questions in the Q&A box. One of them is from Jürgen Vogel-Schubert. I just asked it, and Adeline and Daniela, you can choose. The question is, are there some bad examples and good practices about how to combat disinformation on TikTok? So we know that TikTok today has become, I mean, for younger people, really the main search engine for searching any kind of information. And of course, as you, Adeline, have also mentioned, the social media communication and content creators are quite key in this discourse. So both of you have raised the hand. Please, maybe I give the floor to Daniela first and then to Adeline.
So I do agree with Adeline that involving influencers and TikTok is a great tool if we want to appeal to the younger generation. So definitely, you know, we are also doing that in Chisinau. But the problem with TikTok is, and because we're talking about media safety and media literacy, TikTok is not always safe. And from what we know, TikTok is one of the platforms that is not secured, and they don't have enough, filters. So we are, let's say, more cautious when we recommend TikTok to our audiences, especially younger children. And we know that there have been recommendations to make it safe. So we would really love for for TikTok to become safer for our children, because YouTube is much safer. They have the filters. Facebook has a lot of filters, and Instagram has enough filters, but that is not happening for TikTok in our part of the world. I don't know how it functions, in different countries. So we usually tell teachers and educators that, yes, you can use TikTok, but you have to be very careful so the kids don't get, transferred to other pages where they might get into content that is violent, or there is inappropriate content, or there is dangerous content. And the second subject that I wanted to mention is that because we have the parliamentarian elections this year, we're electing a new president like this 2 weeks from now. So there is a lot of disinformation. There is a lot of propaganda happening, especially from Russia, because we are neighbors with Russia, Ukraine. We are on the border between we are in between Romania and Ukraine. So again, TikTok is used. Telegram and many other channels are now heavily used for propaganda. So we have to do a lot of trainings with our employees, with our educators, with parents, especially. Like UNICEF is doing a lot in terms of informing masses about be careful what we watch, what we share, what we believe, what we can trust and what we cannot. So I think especially now in our country, in our city, media literacy and educating masses about how to, develop critical thinking and consume media carefully is very, very important. And unfortunately, TikTok needs to work on their, making their space safer. Even though we love the idea and video content is in big demand and everyone loves short, fun, interesting videos that can be used to, inform masses about important issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Yes, and I think probably the question can be asked even a bit broader. TikTok is one of the tools, but I guess we can also have the question about the discussion of social media dynamics, more generally, the diverse platforms. Adeline, please.
Yes, actually, I'm going to echo what was said by Daniela. For us, what we do when we work on media information literacy is that the one pillar, especially for TikTok and social media platform, is the empowerment of the users and the creators, because by definition, the users are also creators and vice versa. So these are the different things we do with providing capacity building. But one of the main messages that we have right now is that we cannot put all the burden on users, creators. We also need to work with the digital platforms so that they work on user empowerment by design. And this is really something that we are also trying to develop now, some guidelines in relation to the governance of digital platform. UNESCO has been taking the lead on these questions of the governance of digital platforms. And there is a huge pillar that is about media information literacy. And there we're trying, again, to develop an action plan for platforms to better have user empowerment by design. And here, Daniela was referring to having safe platform, but I think it goes beyond that. It goes to the fact that on the platforms, it would be very important to have different ways for users to have more transparent access to different kind of information in terms of what are the algorithm that is being used. A lot of tools can also be deployed in terms of labeling of generated AI content, especially right now that we speak so much about deepfakes, etc. You have also, in any way, you have a lot of tools that could be done and that could be put on the platforms, also using artificial intelligence to empower the user and not just expect the users to be trained in order to counter disinformation on the platform, if you see what I mean. So we do believe that this is a collective responsibility and there is a collective action that is being done in order to address this issue.
Thank you so much for reacting to that. There is a quite related question that I may just follow up immediately. And this question comes from Sarah Thomas. And she asks how keen content creators and influencers have been to engage with this content. And there was a mention earlier, I think in your presentation, Adeline, that there was this demand, and maybe you could explain a bit more on the sort of interest of the content creators.
Yes, well, I'm just going to go back to what I just mentioned about the governance of digital platforms. So UNESCO has done in 23 a global let's say, consultation, one of the biggest in the UN, in relation to how to counter harmful content on digital platform while safeguarding and protecting freedom of expression. And we saw a lot of actors taking part into this consultation. But interestingly, one category of actors that didn't really join the conversation were the content creators and influencers, which was very strange, because if you think about it, those content creators, their business model and everything largely depends on how the platforms are working. And so we started having those questions and wondering, why are they not so interested on those questions of the governance of platforms, how this is all working? Why are they not demanding for more transparency? Why are they not trying to understand better how the algorithm is working, etc.? And some of the response that we got from them is that they didn't necessarily feel legitimate. And one of the reasons for them not to feel legitimate is probably because they are lacking some skills and proper understanding of what are the global standards in relation to freedom of expression, access to information. And so that's actually what triggered the first reflection about the need to empower content creators with skills and competencies in relation to media information literacy, so that they could get as well engaged into those global discussion on the governance and platforms. But then, of course, we also realized that those content creators, when we made survey, that many of them, they are the first target of hate speech as well, and they don't have necessarily like remedies to do that. So that was another good reason to say, okay, we really need to, again, give them some media information literacy skills to know how to respond to hate speech online, how to be resilient to disinformation, because a lot of them as well are being accused of disseminating disinformation, and sometimes rightly. And so all of these brought us to this big survey that we have done with 500 content creators in 50, more than 50 countries, with the results being published in November, and showing the need for the course that we will launch at the same time. I hope I responded to the question.
Yes, thank you so much. I think that was very clear. I see two more questions that I would like to combine. One is from Shabir Ahmed Bejur from Pakistan, I assume, and another question from Bangladesh asking about how UNESCO has been supporting countries in the global south, in Pakistan and Bangladesh, particularly supporting also young people to engage in climate action or to deal with the impact of climate action. I can briefly respond from the side of URL and the GNLC. Of course, we are working with our member cities, offering also capacity building and, for example, these webinars also for knowledge sharing. But also we are currently developing a guidance document on greening communities, which as a primary target group aims at local governmental stakeholders to build the conducive environments and the strategic frameworks to support all actors at local level to work towards climate action and to combat climate action. And we will actually present this document, a draft document, at the upcoming International Learning Cities Conference to put it to discussion with our member cities and also other stakeholders, and it will go into a broader review process next year. And so we will publish that document together with our partners from the Greening Education Partnership next year, and then we'll also engage in a piloting process and work with countries on how to implement these guidelines and also how to develop and implement monitoring measurement frameworks to see advancements, as we see that data generation and evidence-based policymaking is really crucial in that field. So this is one specific support that we will offer. I don't know, I see that Daniela, would you like to contribute to that question as well? Yeah.
Just this morning, I received a new newsletter from our UNESCO schools network. So there are 17 schools from Chisinau that are part of this network, and we receive weekly updates on what can be done in terms of promoting specific like sustainable development goals, whether it's media literacy or it's green competencies. And there is a lot of support, methodological support. There are guides for teachers, guide for parents, guide for students on media literacy, on climate change. There are a lot of contests. Kids love creating like photo essays or videos, video content. And so in addition to things happening like that schools can get in, we receive a lot of useful information in a lot of languages like Arabic, Spanish, French, English, and we share that with all our schools. So this is a great resource at the level of like a specific city or specific country. So I'm sure if some education institutions, for example, take part in this type of network, there is a huge amount of resources that UNESCO is sharing directly with those institutions, and that can be used to map, for example, a municipal educational strategy at the level of the entire city where different organizations can participate. Like I mentioned, libraries and after-school centers and cultural centers, and also municipal public institutions that should be part of this dialogue. We should not, of course, rely on formal education alone, because it's definitely not enough. So my recommendation would be, to encourage your schools in your city to join the UNESCO Cities network, and they will have access to a lot of wonderful resources that that can be used to draft a strategy or to implement large-scale plans. And this is how we target impact, not by small activities that happen in small schools, but strategies that are implemented at the municipal or the country-wide level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So there are quite a few more questions, and I'd like to raise that one and then maybe ask it a bit broader in terms of local organizations to involve in the initiative, which I assume refers to the media and information literacy cities. So the role of local organizations, and then another question we've also seen the role of clubs in education. So maybe Adeline, you have presented this really nice map of different stakeholders and that can support climate action and media literacy at local level. I'm just going to interrupt briefly because I see that it seems that the presentation from Aswan is now starting. Ms. El-Saman, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. Would you be ready to still provide an input? I think we could give you only 5 minutes at this time. Would that be okay for you to select some main slides and messages and to take 5 minutes for your presentation?
Okay. I am sharing with you the presentation.
Wonderful. Then please, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Morning. صباح الخير. أنا آسفة على كان عطل فني عندي في
Good morning, good afternoon,
الوصول
and I'm quite sorry for not making it on time.
كده حضراتكم سامعيني؟
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you very well. And for everyone
Yes,
who is
please, go
you
ahead.
need to, yeah.
هنبتدي مع بعض بالنسبة لأسوان اللي هو في تعزيز
Aswan
المواطنة
is such a city that focuses on global citizenship and
الإعلام في
education
أسوان لمواجهة المعلومات
to
المضللة حول
address
تغيير المناخ.
and to face
طبعا
the
احنا
misinformation
لما
related
نيجي
to India.
نتكلم على
So when we speak
أسوان
about
هنقول أسوان
Aswan,
في جنوب مصر، تقع في جنوب
that
مصر
is
على الحدود ما
in
بين
south of
مصر
Egypt,
والسودان،
bordering
وإنه
Sudan and Egypt.
يعني أسوان مدينة
Aswan
فيها
is
حوالي 1,600,000
a city
مواطن،
that is full of about
وأسوان
1,600,000
مدينة بها تنوع
people.
ثقافي كبير جدا
It has a
جدا،
wide,
فيها ثقافات
diverse,
متعددة، الثقافة
cultural
النوبية والصعيدية
mix of people. I mean, cultural
مختلف ومتنوع من
diversity,
الثقافات. أسوان
different cultures, different
كانت
backgrounds,
من
different
أوائل
people,
المدن
different
اللي
ethnic
انضمت
people.
للشبكة العالمية للمدن
Of course, it
للتعلم،
was one of the first
وحصلنا
cities
على جائزة
that
مدن
joined
التعلم.
the global network, and we have been licensed the learning, one of the learning
عندنا
cities
قاعدة
world.
ذهبية احنا كلنا بنمشي عليها، وهي التعلم من
Have
أجل
our own
الناس
golden
والكوكب
goal,
والازدهار والسلام.
which
هي
can be
بالتالي
translated
حقيقة
into
يومية
learning
في
for people,
أسوان.
the
ده
planet,
شعار احنا
parity and peace. This
بنستناه
is the
عندنا
logo
في مدينة أسوان
in Aswan
لمواجهة المعلومات المضللة
to
حول تغيير
address and
المناخ.
face the
الحقيقة
media
خلينا بس
misinformation.
ناخد كده نقاط سريعة عن إيه هي
We
المعلومات
have quick
المضللة
points about that we
لإنكار
do to
وتغيير المناخ،
address,
اللي هو
such
إنكار
as
تغيير
like
المناخ. يعني
the
بنلاقي ناس
denial
كتيرة
of
بتستنكر
climate
إنه
change,
أصلا هيحصل تغير
because we see
مناخي،
many people denying
وبيشككوا
the
في
climate
المعلومات
change, which
العلمية
of course we need
الموجودة.
to address. We need to
الإفرادات
further
الخاطئة
foster their
حول
awareness
أسباب
about the
تغير
climate
المناخ،
change, because the climate
المبالغة
has come into
أو
play. And it is very important
التجاهل. يا
to better
بنبالغ في
understand how
المعلومات حول
climate change
تغير المناخ،
can be addressed.
يا إما
Also,
بنقلل
it is
المعلومات
very
حول
important
تغير المناخ.
to reduce the
والحقيقة ده
assumptions about the climate change
بيعمل
and the reasons
بلبلة
behind climate
وبيعمل
change,
نوع من
because this
التشتيت لدى
further helps us to foster
المواطنين أو
the
المتعاملين
awareness about
داخل
climate change.
المدن، وبالتالي في
And
تجاهل لأنه ممكن يحصل
many
تغير في
people
المناخ.
really are
أيضا في
ignorant
نقص
of the
دقة
climate change
البيانات
and the
العلمية،
factors
ما
contributory
عندناش
to climate
معلومات
change.
كافية حول تغير
And
المناخ.
also, many people
التركيز
don't
على
have
التفاصيل، الناس
sufficient
بتركز
information
على
about climate
التفاصيل
change.
الدقيقة
That is why
دون
it is very
السياق
important for
العام اللي
us
احنا ممكن
locally first
بيه
to
نقدر
focus on fostering
نشارك
their
مع بعض
awareness
ونعمل تغيير
possible, for us to
ومواجهة
work
للتغيرات
as a
المناخية.
network to enhance their
الإشاعات حول
local,
الحلول،
I mean, their
يعني بنلاقي
awareness, their
ناس كتير
environmental
جدا
awareness, their
جدا
climate change
كل
awareness,
واحد بيقول حل وهو أصلا مش مبني
and
على
how
أساس
each and every
علمي.
one of us, for
وده
example, can
الحقيقة
think of a
بيأثر
solution,
كبير. إيه
feasible
التأثيرات اللي
solution
ممكن
that can
يتركها
best
هذه المعلومات
fit into
المضللة؟
the local
أولا
community, local
التأثير على
context.
السياسات العامة،
Also, this can help
تقويض الجهود المجتمعية،
impact the local
بيأثر
policies
على السياسة
making
العامة للدولة
processes,
أو للمدينة، توجهات
whether
الناس.
for the local city or for the
تقويض
entire
الجهود
country.
المجتمعية، بنلاقي
Also,
إنه المعلومات
the
المضللة
community-based
بتأثر على
solutions
الجهود
can
المجتمعية وبتحد
address and
منها،
can
وبالتالي ما فيش خطوات
at least
تقدر
face
تبتدي
and combat the
اتخاذها.
misinformation,
تدهور
the media
الثقة في المؤسسات
misinformation that
العلمية
many people
بناء على
always
المعلومات
communicate
المضللة، إذا كان عبر أي وسائل التواصل
through
المختلفة.
different channels, different media channels.
إزاي إحنا نقدر نواجه هذه المعلومات المضللة وماذا
What is
فعلنا
it
في
that we
أسوان؟
did in Aswan
أولا إحنا
to address these
يعني
misinformation?
بنعتمد
First,
على
we depend
المبدأ
heavily
المحور
on
17 للخاص
to achieve the SDGs
بالشراكات،
17
بناء الشراكات.
based
وإحنا
on, of course,
يعني
we develop
عندنا
and we
الحقيقة
depend heavily
يعني
on
إحنا
our
شاطرين في ده،
partnerships.
وبنقدر نعمل
This is something
شراكات
that
قوية
we
جدا إذا كان
feel
على
good
المستوى
at,
الدولي أو على المستوى
whether
المحلي.
globally or locally.
أسوان بنت شراكات عديدة مع عديد من
Aswan has built
المدن في
different
التعلم،
partnerships,
إذا كان على المستوى الدولي أو
have
على المستوى
provided about
الوطني.
35
شاركنا مع منظمات المجتمع
awareness
المدني
fostering
في
webinars,
إعداد 35
and we
ندوة
have targeted
تعريفية
about 2,000
خاصة
people across the world
بالمبادرات
countries,
العربية
across
للتعريف
the Arab
بالهيدروجين
countries,
الأخضر
to
والمشروعات
better
الخضراء
understand
والتحديات
green hydrogen
المناخية
and
بالمنطقة
the green
العربية،
projects, and better
ومشاركة
understand
نخبة من
the
خبراء
climate
البيئة
changes
والتغير
across the Arab
المناخي
region.
مع
At least
جمعية عين البيئة. وكلها كانت
we have local and
ندوات
global partners,
وورش عمل
workshops
أونلاين.
being conducted always.
الحقيقة هي غطت أكثر من
It has
2000
covered,
مشارك،
as I said, it has attracted more than
وما زالت
2,000
مستمرة
participants,
كل
and
أسبوع
still the workshops
مرتين
continue.
ندوة. ماذا فعلت أسوان أيضا من
What
خلال
is it what we
بناء
did?
الشراكات
Well, we built
مع
partnerships
بعض مدن
for
التعلم زي
set
مدينة
goals, as I've said, with learning
دمياط.
cities
عملنا
such as
مع هيئة
Dumyat,
بلان
which is another
انترناشونال
city in
بروتوكول
Egypt.
تعاون بيخدم عمليات التعلم في
This, of course,
أسوان.
helps to
وبالحقيقة
further
اتنفذت مشروعات
enhance
كتيرة
learning
خدمت المرأة المهمشة
education, and
والأطفال ذوي
also
الإعاقة،
helps the
وعملت
underprivileged
مشروعات
women
كبيرة داخل
create
أسوان.
more
كمان
opportunities
من
for women
خلال
to be engaged
الشراكات
always.
الدولية
The
استطعنا إن
global
إحنا
partnerships,
بنينا
the
بين
way to get
مدرستين علاقات تعاون
more and
جيدة
more
بين
engagement.
مدرسة السلام الأكاديمي ومدرسة في طوكيو اليابان، وكان من خلال مشروع
And
أرتميل. وأرتميل ده الأولاد خلال العام
of course,
الدراسي كله
children across the
بيتناولوا
year
معلومات وثقافات
always get
مختلفة
information,
بيتبادلوا فيها
and that is why
المعلومات.
it is very
وهم
important to
الحقيقة
filter these
كانوا الولاد طول
information.
السنة بيبعتوا فيديوهات عن أسوان
And as you
وبتيجي
know,
معلومات من طوكيو
there is something which we feel
لأولادنا.
proud of,
وكمان
that
Excuse
our
me, Miss
children send.
Salman, I'm sorry to interrupt. You have 1 minute left, just to give you time to wrap up. Thank you.
برضو يعني من
Again,
خلال التعاون مع
by
الشراكات المختلفة
cooperation, coordination
قدروا
with different
يعملوا
entities, they've been able
جدارية كبيرة
to
اترسم
make a
نصها
mount
في اليابان. أولاد التلاميذ مدرسة اليابان
murals or
رسموا نص
mount pictures,
الجدارية، والنص
paintings.
الآخر
They
تم
have
رسمه في
painting,
أسوان
half of which the
وعلقت
other
في
one, of course, they painted by
البارالمبية
other
في طوكيو.
actors, and they put it in the Paralympic
ده
Games.
بالنسبة
This
في
is
قطاع
something that
التعليم
we feel
والتعلم
really
مدى
proud of
الحياة. عندنا
for lifelong
بنعتمد
learning,
على المبدأ
because
والمحور
we
الرابع
depend
اللي هو التعليم الجيد.
SDGs 4,
وده
which is
أسوان
good
قدرت
learning,
إنها تنشئ
and
عدد من المدارس
Aswan
النوعية وفق احتياج
able, of course, to develop
البيئة ووفق احتياج سوق العمل ووفق احتياجات المجتمع. وقدرنا نعمل مشروعات ومدارس للطاقة الشمسية
able
وفصول
to develop
لدراسة الطاقة
solar
الشمسية.
projects to
وده
better
بنيناه بالقرب من مشروع الطاقة الشمسية، وهو أكبر مشروع في الشرق الأوسط للطاقة الشمسية في أسوان.
project ever
كمان قدرنا
in
إن احنا
Aswan.
نعمل مدارس عديدة
We'll
للمجتمع
also
لخدمة المتسربين من التعليم.
to
قدرنا
make it
نشارك أولادنا ذوي
best,
الإعاقة في
particularly
مشروعات
with the handicap, I
عديدة
mean the
داخل المدارس وخارج المدارس.
Thank you so much, Ms. El-Saman. Thank you so much. I'm very sorry to interrupt your presentation because it is very rich. I'm afraid that we have to stop it here so that we can finish in time. I'm very sorry for the technical issues that we've been encountering and that we could not complete your presentation. Maybe we can share the slides with our participants afterwards. That would be great. Thank you so much for the presentation. And this is just to say that everyone needs to move back to the Arabic channel or to the original audio channel. So I think these were really valuable inputs today. Thanks to all contributors. Before we close, I would like to hand over the floor to Raul Valdez-Cotera, the Chief Program Coordinator here at UIL, to provide a brief summary of the meeting. Raul, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Edith. Sorry for the technical problems, and we found the contributions shared today very insightful. 3 women presenting, that was quite rich. I hope that they will encourage many cities who are represented today in the webinar to discuss further possibilities to promote citizenship education, critical thinking, media and information literacy with urban environments. For those cities that already have experience, I hope this could be helpful to continue your work. But also I would like to thank all speakers and participants for joining us today. And of course, always the UL team, Edith, Paulo, Katie, for all the work behind, for supporting in organizing and facilitating the session. And I'm looking forward for our last webinar of this year that will take place in November. We will be presenting an online collection on UNESCO Learning Cities with practices to promote lifelong learning for climate action. And we would like also to remind you that if you have interest in presenting in the webinar, you are very welcome. This last webinar of the series will take place on Wednesday, the 20th of November at the same time as today. We will explore the topic of shifting paradigms, fostering sustainable lifestyles, and rethinking our relation with nature. We wish you all a very nice day, evening ahead. Thank you very much for this fruitful session. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.